Good morning. It's your girl, Jen, your host of Mindset in the Morning. And I am feeling so much better than I did yesterday. I have to say, yes, I can tell when I haven't had enough sleep because I'm just not firing on all cylinders. It's something that happens with age. When I was younger, I used to be able to get like 4 hours of sleep, get up and go. Now I have 5 hours of sleep and I'm dragging. Last night, it was one of those good nights. And I base my evenings, my sleep on if I have to get up and use the restroom or not. Like if I don't, then it's a really good night's sleep. So last night I was out like a rock. I woke up to my alarm clock this morning and I feel so much better. So anyway, I can tell the difference, which is such a testament to why we need to be getting enough sleep. And I know it can be more of a struggle for some of us at some periods in our life, if you have younger kids, if whatever that may be, but really make an effort to see where you can adjust things in your life so that you can get that sleep because it is so critical. I can tell in the morning. I've done this show several times where I've not had the proper amount of sleep. Maybe I've been traveling or whatever it may be. And I try to be in bed by 9 o'clock. That's my goal. But anyway, so that's my testament to that. Today we're going to talk about saying sorry because that is a word that gets used so much. Like I was walking by this guy in the hall the other day and we were both coming around the corner and we almost bumped into each other and he was like, "Sorry." I didn't say I'm sorry because I wasn't sorry. I mean, it was we wasn't anything to be sorry about. So I thought, let's talk about sorry because this week we've been talking about communication. And so today we're going to be digging into this word sorry that just seems to be a word that we use for everything. But first, if you would hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because the more subscribers we have on this channel, the more people that we have liking and listening, the more that we can take this good information and make a movement, because this is all about becoming the most powerful version of yourself. It is showing up every day as the person that you want to show up as, that you envision yourself as. And so often, and I say this, are you happening to life or is life happening to you? And what I mean by that is, are you in the driver's seat? Are you taking control? When things happen in your life, are you responding in the way that is congruent with how you want to feel? Or are you just responding the way you respond, which is maybe you get angry or you're anxious? Man, I had some anxiety yesterday and I had to stop myself and say, boy, is this where I want to be? And I had to shift things around. And so when I shifted things around, I tell you what, I found a solution and then I got over that because I said, this isn't how I want to be. This is causing me too much anxiety. So that is what we are all about on this show, is talking about ways that we can become the most powerful version of ourselves. And so this word sorry, it's one I it's kind of like some curse words. I don't know why these are the first ones that come to me, but like the F word, like you could say the F word for everything. You're like, oh man, screw this or screw that or F that or whatever. Like you can throw that word or into anything. And it's kind of the same with sorry. So here's the actual definition of sorry: feeling distress or feeling regret. Okay. All right. Feeling regret. And yet we use it so often. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say something. Okay. Are you actually saying you're sorry? Or this person, I mean, do you actually feel regret? I regret asking you something. Or are you just trying to get their attention? You see, there's something about this word sorry. It is a very, very powerful and strong word. If you are able to say, I'm sorry, when you feel regret, then that is a strength, because a lot of people don't want to admit when they're wrong. So I'm talking about when you are truly wrong, when you truly make a mistake that impacts a situation, it impacts other people. I remember I worked for this company one time and they were implementing a system, and they spent almost $30 million and they had gone through 4 different vendors. And then finally the CEO pulled the plug and he came out and he said, I take ownership of this situation. This was no one's fault other than my own. I will take full responsibility, because I truly believe that they wanted to roll out this new system, but they couldn't figure out either the right vendor, the right process. And so they kept, maybe they would get a little peeved with the vendor and they'd say, get a new one in here. So then you get a new one and then you have to start from the beginning. And then get a new one in here. And then you got to start from the beginning, because every time you got a new vendor, they had to learn the system and everything. And so it was a lot of wasted time. It was a lot of money. But I will never forget when the CEO came out and said, I take ownership. Now, we talk about ownership a lot on this show, and every single one of us needs to be taking ownership of our lives. When we blame others, we are doing ourselves a disservice. Absolutely. But when we can come out and we can admit when we are wrong, there is something powerful about that. I had a lot of respect for the CEO that day, because he was able to put his ego aside, even though, boy, he wasn't in any of those conversations really, other than probably throwing the hammer at these companies saying, why haven't you delivered? Why can't we do this? Now, there were probably a lot of reasons. So he could have blamed the companies. He could have blamed the internal teams. There was a lot of blame maybe he could have done, but honestly, he's the one that kept paying the bills. He's the one that kept authorizing for this to go forward. So he came out and said, I take ownership. So he didn't necessarily say, I'm sorry, but it's the same. When you say, I'm sorry, you're saying, I regret that this happened. And that's what he came out and basically said. And my respect for this man went up that day, because it takes a big person to say, I'm sorry, to stand in front of a group of their peers or their family or their friends and say, you know what? I didn't mean to do this, or I'm sorry that this happened. I'm about to sneeze, by the way. And it takes a big person. Whew. It like went up in my nose, tickled it, then went back down. It takes a big person to do that. And that is a very respectable trait. It takes someone that has a lot of self-confidence to go out in front of people and admit when they're wrong. It's so much easier to just sweep it under the rug. You will never find a narcissist that's apologizing for things. Like, that's just like, the narcissist never wants to be wrong. It takes a big person to admit that. So when we use this word, I'm sorry, and we just throw it out there like it's candy, like, oh, I'm sorry, can you pass the mashed potatoes? What regret did you have with it? Because you're sorry you interrupted a conversation, or the flow of the dinner, or you're walking down the hall and you see someone and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. We just use sorry for everything. But is that really what that word is intended to do? And if we use it like we use any 4-letter words in the English language that probably YouTube doesn't condone us using, just like if we throw these words out there, are we watering down when it really matters? So if you, and I'm just talking about you, not anybody else, if you are used to saying, I'm sorry, and you just throw it in all the time, and then when you come out and you make that announcement that you are truly sorry about something, does it hold the same weight? Because it's just it's a word you use. It actually waters it down. So we need to be really careful about when we use this word. And there's a lot of different there's a lot of different reasons. And I wrote some of these down. So research shows that it does make people think less of you. So, and I saw this when I was walking next to this gentleman, and he says, oh, I'm sorry. Now, it sounds kind of nice as well. Like, Jen, how did you think less of this person because they said, I'm sorry? They were trying to be nice and trying to apologize. But also, and I'm just going to say it, I'm like, I had the upper hand. It felt stronger. I felt stronger. I felt more like I could push him over, like, oh, well, then he's going to say sorry to me for that. then I could get him to do whatever. Now, in a sense, I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating. But there's almost this sign of weakness that goes along with it. And so research shows that people actually think less of you when you're saying, I'm sorry all the time. I didn't make this up. I found these stats this morning. So it is a weakness and a strength. But if you are throwing it around all the time and you're using that word just like, oh, excuse me, do you have a pencil? I don't know why that came to mind. I don't know. But so if you are just saying this, then that's a weakness. And people will think less of you. It's linked to people pleasing. We talked about the word no yesterday, and a lot of people feel uncomfortable saying the word no because we don't want to upset people. We get in this people pleasing mode. So we just say yes to everything. Well, what happens when you say yes to everything? But we do it because we're people pleasing. We're so busy trying to please other people. I'm not advocating that you go act like a bull in a china shop and I'm not advocating for that. Hold to your morals, hold to your values, be the person that you want to be. But there are very few words when you're communicating with some people. Only have a finite amount of time. Do you want to put these filler words in there like I'm sorry? Or do you want to stand in your most powerful self and say exactly what it is that you want to say? Can you pass the potatoes? Hey, do you mind passing the potatoes? Versus, I'm sorry. Do you see the difference? It is a lot stronger for you to come out with that word. Now, if you have done something and you need to apologize, then say, I'm sorry. But if you are doing it just to people please, because it's a filler word, because it just feels comfortable, it just rolls off your tongue, you may actually have a habit of saying it. So people say it because they're people pleasing. They don't know what else to say. Why don't you try just removing it all together? Just eliminate it. Stop saying that word. You know, when speakers practice, and I find this in my own podcast, sometimes I go back and I listen to them and I say, wow, I said like a lot of times. I have a podcast called Level Up to 2.0. And I'll go back and I'll listen and I think, man, I said like a lot of times. And it doesn't sound good. When you say like a lot of times, it diminishes what you are saying. The same with the word sorry. What if you just removed it altogether? I don't need to be saying like all the time, because like if I said like all the time, it would just take away from what I was saying. I would say like all the time. It's annoying. It's one of those filler words. You just say, get it away. You stop. But it's a habit. We've become so used to saying it that that's what we know. So work on changing that. It's also been linked to low self-esteem. So people that truly do have low self-esteem, they say, I'm sorry, I don't feel worthy enough to interrupt your time. I'm sorry, I don't feel that I'm whatever. So it has been linked to low self-esteem. And I don't know what it is for you. Is it just a habit? Is it low self-esteem? Is it that you've never thought about it? I think probably for a lot of us, we've never thought about it and we just say it. But knowing now, because when you know better, do better. That's all. But when you know that it makes people think less of you, and you know that you diminish the value of the real word, the real meaning of the word, which is when there's regret, start to pay attention to that. It's been linked to perfectionism. Y'all, there's no such thing as perfect. I've thought through this, and there's a few scenarios that I can think of. And maybe that's in, you go to the Olympics and they grade you. Oh, everybody got a 10. But is then even perfect? I guess you could get a perfect score on a test, but is there this thing called perfect? Like I did that perfectly. Because you may have your iteration, I may have my iteration, we come to the same result. How do we determine this thing called perfect? Why don't we just strive to be better? Strive for progress over perfection. So when we don't feel that something's perfect, we say sorry. Well, why are we putting that on ourselves? Perfect is boring, by the way. Perfect is so boring. It doesn't mean don't go do something really well, but don't apologize for it not being this idea of perfect. Own your progress. That helps add to your confidence. If you think that you are never perfect, how are you going to stand confidently in what you're doing? So if it is for you that you find that you're saying this because it is linked to this idea that you're not perfect enough, catch yourself. Catch yourself. So we're going to wrap it up here. Sorry is one of these words that gets thrown around so often. And we need to first become aware. When do we say it? Just like the word like. We don't need it everywhere. It takes away from what we're saying. It takes away from the phrase that we're trying to say, the message we're trying to deliver. I want you to show up powerfully, and sorry is going to take that away. So just like, start to notice when you say sorry. And I don't know, is it linked to perfectionism for you? Is it just a habit? But become aware. That is step one. And then when you start to use the word, switch it around. So you could say things like, oh, excuse me. Pardon me. Oh, go ahead. After you. See, all of those things I could have said, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. Say, instead of I'm sorry after you, just say after you. That is a lot stronger. That is a lot more confident of a way of talking with people. You know your place. That's that person's place. Oh, go ahead. You don't have to say, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's a lesser version of yourself. That's what research shows. So start to think about ways that you can just eliminate that word. Oh, excuse me. Oh, no, go ahead. By all means, your turn. After you. By eliminating the word sorry doesn't mean that we become rude and arrogant. There are still ways to be you, to be thoughtful, to put other people first. But we need to be aware of that word. Oh, I have an idea. Instead of, oh, sorry, can I say something? How about I have an idea? How will people look at you from a leadership perspective when you say, I have an idea versus, I'm sorry, can I speak? Is it my turn? Am I allowed to say something? So become aware of this word. And we could go on and on with different examples about how to use this word sorry, but just become aware in your own life. And when you do, start to shift it. Awareness is the first. And then, you know, when we feel things, when we say things, that's a window into our soul. Maybe it's time for you to dig deeper. Why do you say sorry so much? Is it linked to low self-esteem? Is it linked to perfectionism? Are those things maybe you need to work on? Or maybe it's just a bad habit. And just like we need to remove it. So that's it for today. You want to show up more powerfully and confidently, address that word sorry in your life. So I encourage you today, as you are going out and you are facing the world, to really become aware of this word sorry. Are you using it appropriately, or is it just one of these filler words that we know make people think less of you, whether we consciously are thinking that or not? That's what research shows. So with that, please hit that like, please hit that subscribe. And if you are finding massive value out of this, I would appreciate if you would share this with your friends. Somebody maybe you know that says the word sorry all the time. send this to them and let them hear the message as well. You don't have to be the one to deliver it. I can deliver it, but we are here 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Today is Thursday, if you are joining us live or today, and we will be back here tomorrow, same time, same place, but it's YouTube, so you can tune in whenever, but 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Go be powerful. Go be that person that you know you are destined to be. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Cheers.